Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Almond, and today I'm going to discuss patterns that observed over time with the stock market. And so I wanted to discuss some of these patterns in this video. And hopefully you'll be able to use these patterns that are discussed in this video in your own trading. And so we'll get started here. So obviously none of what I discussed in this video should be taken as financial advice, and you should always consult a financial advisor before making important financial decisions. Last person I want to thank is Benjamin Cohen for inspiring a lot of the knowledge and content that I discuss on this channel. We'll discuss a pattern with gold. So we'll go here to TradingView. It's a little bit of a better website than Almond Invest, which is my own website. But if we look at the past few years, actually, for gold, you can see this moment that we just had over here. It's pretty awesome. I mean, look at that beautiful upwards trajectory. It's pretty amazing. Let's just look over here. Like, gold is basically just hung out and just skyrocketed up. Now, it might be hard to imagine, but one of the arguments I'm going to make in this video is you could have actually predicted this if you're paying attention to the chart. So this is the chart of gold, and the main pattern that I'm going to be discussing is actually, we can see it play out a few times. So if we go zoom in closer to the chart, the pattern is basically this. Let me get it a little bit thinner. This is what I'm going to call, I don't know the specific terminology, but basically if we've noticed, if we look right here, what we can see is Bitcoin bounces up to this level, comes down, gold bounces back up to the same level, comes back down, hits the level a third time, comes back down, and then we see it just breaks out. So this is what I call the trapped box, where essentially, I don't know what the official verbiage for this is, but this is kind of shown in Benjamin Cohen's videos, but basically when we keep seeing an asset trying to make upwards moves, we can see these upwards moves, it eventually means it's trying to actually there's essentially a tension, and there's kind of a tension and interest in this asset when we keep seeing it always returning to this baseline over here. If it keeps jumping upwards, that means people are actually interested in investing into this asset. However, the specific environment that this asset sits in is not attractive to the average investor, but it will be eventually. We'll reach an environment where this type of asset will take off. And if we can see gold, gold just went on an absolute tear. So that was one pattern, which is what I call the trapped box. And we could I think you can kind of see this actually sort of over here as well. Right here, where it goes up, goes up, goes up, goes up, and then just breaks through and goes crazy. So it's not hard to see this pattern play out. And actually a really interesting example of this playing out is something called tether dominance. So let me see if I remember how to, I think it's this, tether dominance. This is another asset we'll be looking at, and that actually has a pretty interesting pattern at play. I think I was on this asset before, but if we go and look, oh, what the heck is that? Well, yeah, so let me explain what this asset is. So if we look at Bitcoin, and we have this one right here, and basically what this measures, it measures how much cash people are holding how much cash is in people's crypto accounts, basically. So when people open up an account for stocks, people can also open up an account for crypto, right, where they can buy and sell crypto. And one thing that's pretty interesting is if you kind of look at this is the amount of cash people are holding on to in their crypto account. And let me show you something interesting, actually. You can kind of draw a pretty rough logarithmic line over here. And let's take a note at some of these times. So we have 2021 March. We have, let me slide this over here. March 24. We have it again in January 2025. And we hit it again in around August 2025. So one thing I articulated is this kind of represents how much cash people are holding in their crypto account. If we go over here to Bitcoin and we click on this indicator I have called CTCTI, let's look at some of the dates. Okay, let me post the dates up here. So let's look at 2021 March. Okay, 2021 March. Oh, we can see that this is here. Okay, well, let's look at March 2024. Well, we can see that's right here. January 2025. Oh, that's right. That's right here. Right around where my mouse is. And then August of 2025 was right over here. So if you actually notice, every single time it's hit this line, even November, look, what this indicator is telling you is that people are taking their money and buying Bitcoin at a very fast pace. That's what this indicator is telling you. People in a very fast pace are buying Bitcoin because people's cash is being turned into something, right? It's being spent, especially. This is a measurement of people spending cash when it goes down. When it goes down, people are buying. However, the opposite is true. When this indicator goes up, it means people are selling crypto for money, right? And if we look, we can see the same pattern that we've been discussing with people taking crypto and turning it into money, right? We can see people are turning Bitcoin into money here. People are turning Bitcoin into money here. People are turning Bitcoin into money here. And people are turning Bitcoin into money here. People wanted to sell Bitcoin, actually, for a long time. You can see this indicator was for almost 2 years. 2 years people were waiting to sell out of Bitcoin and get into cash with this pattern that we see right here. The trapped box, essentially. And what I discuss is when this pattern goes up, it says that Bitcoin essentially, people would rather have cash than Bitcoin. People are more interested in cash than Bitcoin, right? So, let's take a note of this. This is September 2025, and this is January 2025, right? So let's look at, let's look at August of 2025. Where was that? Let's zoom in here. Oh, that was right around here. And what did Bitcoin kind of start doing? Well, it started just absolutely falling. You see that? We'll get rid of this. It crashed. And then in February and March, we can kind of see, does that really say? Oh, sorry. Through January and December, Bitcoin didn't do anything. We can see that here. Bitcoin's not doing anything. And then it went up from February to March. Bitcoin went down from January to March. So we can basically see when this goes up, it tells us Bitcoin's going to go down. So when this goes up, Bitcoin goes down. And this was all communicated if you're watching this chart. So that's another interesting application of it. And if we go up again, we can see another metal. Let's go to palladium. Oh, I don't know how to spell that. Palladium, yep. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Have I been on this before? What the hecker? So, it's pretty easy to see the pattern again, actually. So that's why Palladium went up. And now it's actually crashed pretty bad. But it might be a good buy at these levels. I'm not actually sure. But it's dropped. This pattern at least showed that Palladium was going to go up. So let's see. That was the spring box pattern. But another interesting thing that I've talked about on this channel is what I call the stalling. So I don't want to cover this too much, basically, because I talk about it like every single time I make a video. But an observation I made with the S&P 500 is that if you look, the S&P 500 was kind of flat for a few months. This was a pretty big warning sign that it was going to go down. And if we look actually over here too, Bitcoin was flat over here, so it doesn't do anything really for a few months, crashes down. We can see that same pattern here. We can see that same pattern here. Oh, what the heck? I don't know why it's not giving me any more data. I don't think I've ever had this issue before. I mean, we can kind of see it here where Bitcoin stalls for a couple months and then just plummets down. But an interesting thing is, you know, we look at Bitcoin. Okay, let's look at Bitcoin. And let's go over here. We can see the exact same pattern right here. Where actually Bitcoin was kind of where Bitcoin basically does nothing. This is a big warning sign as well. So not only is this like something I've noticed with the S&P 500, but also Bitcoin kind of does it, which is pretty interesting. I mean, look kind of even over here. Okay, from this span to that span, I mean, essentially did nothing. I mean, it's like 3%, but like right here, right, for several months it did nothing. Okay, and that was also kind of a warning sign that Bitcoin probably wasn't gonna have a good time. Even if we look, oh, this is a pretty ugly view, but kind of like even right here, where Bitcoin didn't do anything over here, so it just crashed for the next few months, and it kind of has that trapped box pattern, kind of in that little area, this area right, at least. I think was trying to look at the kind of this area. It had a miniature crash. Bitcoin had a miniature crash after not really doing a whole lot. So when an asset kind of just hangs around the same place for a couple months, it can be a bad sign. But like the thing is, you know, with gold, the thing is like, it didn't just, it was kind of hanging around the same place for several months if you look at that. So you would think it would go down, but the issue is it's not doing nothing. It is still showing it's doing something, which was obvious, is that it's continuously going up to this line. So it's not essentially laying flat like where we see what Bitcoin does over here, where it literally just like was completely flat. Same with the S&P 500. Oh, that was what I was talking about next. The last few things I'm going to talk about, which are good signs and bad signs of a stock, now that I realize, okay, how to articulate this? Bitcoin follows a very obvious trend where it spends usually 1 year going down. So if we look over there, it was going down for 1 year, and then for the next 3 years it was going up. If we look over here, it was going down for exactly 1 year, and then for the next 3 years it just basically went up. So we can think of it like this. And it's probably going to spend another year going down. And these 3 years are going up. Something like that. Okay. But one thing that's really interesting, in my opinion, is if you kind of let's look at the last 3 years, okay? Let's look at the behavior in the positive 3 years. If you notice, Bitcoin kind of trends down in these little areas and eventually will explode upwards. Kind of does it over here as well. But if you notice, it does the exact opposite, where it looks like it's going up, but then crashes down. And likely, we're going to crash further down over here. I mean, we can look at this example too. I mean, you can see it pretty clearly, in my opinion. So actually, this might sound weird, but when you see the price kind of chopping downwards, let's see, my website sometimes does not like it when I draw. But usually when you see it chopping downwards, that's not always a bad sign for a stock. Actually, it could show that people will soon have an opportunity. It will give an opportunity to people to buy an asset pretty soon. But sometimes actually when a stock chops upwards, that's usually a bad sign, as seen in these examples, where, you know, Bitcoin kind of like goes upwards a little bit and then ends up just crashing down. You can see that pretty clearly. I hope so. Yeah, I think. Oh, the last thing I'll talk about is other cryptos. Okay, so kind of an interesting thing is like. So, the way I think about the crypto market is a lot of people will kind of talk about coins, and there's no obvious way, in my opinion, to tell if a coin's going to go up. But looking through this enough, I actually found one indicator, which if we look at the Bitcoin ratio. And basically, whenever you see a double bottom, so you see some crypto ratio hit this bottom part twice, it's usually indicative that it's going to have a good year. So we see that with Solana, where it hit that double bottom. If we go to Ethereum and go to Bitcoin ratio, we can see that it actually had a double bottom over here. Oh, I'm not good at drawing. But it hit the same spot, and then for last year, it basically went up. And you can see that Ethereum never had a double bottom, but it might hit this area again, which would indicate if we do go down low over here, that would indicate a good area probably to buy Ethereum. Even if we look at XRP, we'll go to its Bitcoin ratio. So this is just the price of XRP divided by Bitcoin. Nothing stands out right now. But if we zoom in, actually, let's zoom in. You can actually see that double bottom right here, where it hits this, the ratio, it hits it again, and just explodes upwards. For like a year, it went up. So, yeah, that was one thing to look at. And an interesting thing is, one of the only cryptos that's been doing good in a few months is Tau. And if you look at its Bitcoin ratio, guess what happened? Let's look at the ratio. If I zoom in, oh yeah, we can see right here. It hit a double bottom. What kind of hit looks like it hit a triple bottom actually, and then it started going up. It's pretty interesting how this stuff plays. Oh, actually, I think it's this. I wish I could draw a little bit more straight, but yeah, it hit this double bottom and started going up. So it looks like this pattern's played out pretty well. Yeah, but some interesting altcoins to take a look at in the future is Sui, in case this one ever doubles bottoms, and Ondo, which is another one which I'll be looking for a double bottom, at least with the Bitcoin ratio. So yeah, those are some patterns and observations I made about crypto, stocks, and other assets. So I hope you found that enjoyable. And yeah, I should have a pretty awesome video out here this week. So stay on board. I'll talk to you later. Peace out. Have a good weekend, everyone.